could not be deported.
Risk of being harmed
He
by?
could
I'm
not
asking
be.
you.
Who could he be risked by? I don't know. But
A rival gang.
No, Excuse me, Scott. Excuse me. Stop. Do you really believe that this guy's an MS-13 member? Because
I've got two. If he doesn't want to go back to El Salvador, he's going to wind up in some other place. Somalia, Gaza, I don't know where. He's not.
And the fact that this man received no due process, he was effectively disappeared to a foreign country, a country which he came from, which he was basically
It's not a
asylum.
foreign country. He lives there.
Excuse me, no, he does not live there.
He's a citizen of El Salvador.
Scott, excuse me, he got asylum in this country.
He's a citizen.
Scott,
does he have asylum?
Excuse me, let me.
But the judge said that.
He was specifically not to be deported to El Salvador.
I don't disagree with that.
Where did this administration?
I just acknowledged
where
that,
did this
Julie.
administration?
I just acknowledged that.
Where did this administration deport him to? El Salvador.
And I literally just said, bring him back and send him anywhere.
Saying that when he comes back and Donald Trump sends him to Gaza, you're going to come on and say this was great.
Why would he go to Gaza?
I don't know. You tell me.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. Scott Jennings said something here that was just sneaky and disgusting. And I want to know your guys' comments on it. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it.
I also wonder, I mean, you heard Caroline Levitt say there, he's a terrorist. They have proof that he is an MS-13 gang member. Well, provide the evidence. I mean, I don't know, just bring the proof and let's look at it.
This is a guy, a father, who was in a parking lot of an IKEA with his 5-year-old autistic son when he was picked up, and the father was given 10 minutes to have the son be picked up by his mother. This guy was never charged. So my question to everyone is this who we are as a country? I don't believe it is. And every single person who believes in the fundamentals of this country and believes in due process, that if you were ever accused of something, that you would have a chance to plead your case, should be concerned about this, Republican or Democrat.
And I think that's the key here, right? Because it's not just about him. If this president and this administration can accuse somebody of being a terrorist, then accuse any one of us of being a terrorist and do with us what they will. There's due process that exists in this country for everybody. And the fact that this man received no due process, he was effectively disappeared to a foreign country, a country which he came from, which he was basically
It's not a foreign country. He lives there.
Excuse me, no, he does not live there.
He's a citizen of El Salvador.
Scott, excuse me, he got asylum in this country.
He's a citizen.
Scott,
does he have asylum?
Excuse me, let me finish.
No, he doesn't.
No, it's not that he. Sorry, it's not that he got asylum. He got a judge to say that he could not be rendered
Does he have
back.
a deportation order?
Excuse me, he could not be. Can you let me finish? He could not be rendered back to El Salvador because he was at risk of being harmed in El Salvador. That is what a federal judge. That is what a federal judge.
By who? Who was he at risk of?
Excuse me. That was what a federal judge said.
He could not be deported. He could not be.
Who could he be risked by? I don't know.
But a rival gang.
No. Excuse me, Scott. Excuse me. Stop. Do you really believe that this guy's an MS-13 member? Because
I've got two heads of state telling me that they believe it.
Oh, okay. Your heads of state. Okay.
Let me address what Scott's saying, because maybe Scott, maybe you are correct. But the venue to litigate that very thing that you just said is in a court. That's where we should find out, is his claim that his life is at risk a real one that should prevent him from being deported, or is it not? The problem is that the administration tried to avoid doing any of that, and they just took him out of the country. Even though, she's right, Julia is right, there was a hold on his deportation to El Salvador for a reason. The administration has acknowledged that they made a mistake here.
So here's what I think is going to happen. He's either going to stay there, or if he comes back here, he's going to be immediately arrested. And if he doesn't want to go back to El Salvador, he's going to wind up in some other place. Somalia, Gaza, I don't know where. He's not going to wind up living in the United States. Do you think that he should have a process afforded to him? I think he's an illegal alien with an existing deportation order. He had one.
Do you think that he should have a process afforded to him?
I think he went to immigration courts on multiple occasions and has an existing deportation order.
Well, we discussed the outcome of that, which was that he was not supposed to be deported where he was.
To El Salvador.
So do you think that process should be able to play out before the administration removes him from the country?
If El Salvador lets him go, I think what the administration should do is take him back, as they said they would. That's facilitate, in my opinion. And then, okay, you don't want to go back there where you're from, by the way, he's a citizen of El Salvador. Where do you want to go? Because you're not staying here. That is the outcome. This is how this is.
To Julie's point.
Guys, you see how he mentioned, oh, well, you can send them to Gaza or Somalia. Why the F would you send a Hispanic dude to Somalia or Gaza? I find it suspicious that he chose, especially Gaza. Let me know in the comments what's your theory as to why would you send a Hispanic dude over there? I have a theory that I'm going to say later as to why he did that. This dude is really disgusting. And I don't think he's alone as a Republican. I think a lot of them have this kind of idea.
I just want to play again. This is Trump for the second day in a row now talking about sending Americans to El Salvador. Listen.
Could we use it for violent criminals, our own violent criminals?
I call them homegrown criminals.
Yes.
I mean, the
homegrowns.
The ones that grew up and something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat. We have, and push people into subways just before the train gets there, like you see happening sometimes. We are looking into it and we want to do it. I would love to do that.
Sure, Mark.
I mean, look, I think he's saying that as a deterrence, but I want to go back to this conversation because at least let us start at a foundation. The guy came into the country in 2011 illegally. That's a federal offense, violation of Title VIII. Ellie, correct me if I'm wrong. A judge did say a couple years later, I believe 2019, that you can be deported. Now, not to El Salvador, but you indeed can be deported somewhere else. And so I'm not opposed to bring him back. But he has to go somewhere else. This notion that people are entitled to break the law, stay in our country with no recourse doesn't make any sense to me. There are very few countries, there are very few countries in the globe, literally, I looked this up, very few numerically speaking, countries that will allow you to violate their immigration laws and say, oh, well, I'm going to stay because of whatever reason, and then they don't have a recourse to remove you. That just doesn't make any logical sense to most people out there.
This is a big red herring, right? Because you guys, it is, because you guys keep talking about the fact that he could be deported somewhere.
But the judge said that.
He was specifically not to be deported to El Salvador.
I don't disagree with that. I just said that.
Where did this administration?
I just acknowledged
where did this administration?
I just acknowledged that.
Where did this administration deport him to? El Salvador.
And I literally just said bring him back and send him anywhere else. That's fine.
In contravention
let Ellie get it
of a federal judge.
There's a
Yeah, they specifically said not to bring to El Salvador. And the way Shermack just always skirts around any critique of Trump. So he has to obfuscate, oh, it's just a deterrence. A deterrence for who? American citizens? He said American citizens should be sent over there. What is it a deterrence of? He's just talking, right? And when someone else says it, right? A right-wing pundit says we should pardon the George Floyd murderer. You know what Shermichael says for that? Oh, he's not part of the administration. And when the administration says it, oh, he doesn't mean it. They don't mean it. It's just a deterrence. Shermichael, it's so pathetic. And are we supposed to let this administration, Trump, decide what a terrorist or what isn't? The same guy who led an insurrection to overthrow the government, and with the help of a white nationalist gang called the Proud Little White Boys. Then pardon the self-proclaimed white nationalists. And this isn't the point, but Trump recently said he would look into giving these disgusting people reparations. How you like that, Shermichael? What's your response to that?
Federal judge in the Fourth Circuit named Harvey Wilkinson, who's probably the most esteemed conservative, hardcore conservative federal appellate judge in this country right now. He called this a path to perfect lawlessness, in his opinion, because what happened here is the Trump administration erroneously deported him. Yes, they could have sent him to other countries. They sent him to one place he was not allowed to go. They initially owned up to it in court. And what they do with that DOJ lawyer, he's now fired for admitting that they did wrong. And let me ask you this, why wouldn't they have just said, you can make mistakes? Why wouldn't the administration have just said, our bad, we'll bring him back, we're going to put him in the normal deportation process, and whatever happens, happens. And one last thing, the fact that this administration is wasting so much time on this guy who at best is maybe a marginal some point in the past. There's one confidential source from 2019.
There are tons
like there are so many more dangerous people.
Well, there's also a lot of questions about where that alleged information came from. But Ellie, one more thing for you, because I think this is part of the conversation here. This administration wants to just get rid of people without ever having to prove things against them. They had this person that they said was an MS-13 leader, and rather than try him for his crimes, they want to just quickly deport him. Now, court says they can't quickly deport him, but it's interesting to me because maybe this guy is an MS-13 leader. Shouldn't he just be prosecuted for his crimes?
Is the guy you're mentioning an illegal immigrant?
Scott, I'm asking if he is responsible for heinous crimes in this country,
if he's in the country illegally,
prosecuted.
Wouldn't you want to send him away?
I'm actually asking why he's not being prosecuted. That's my question.
So first of all, you don't have to be an MS-13 member to be deported if you are here illegally. But let me just give you my sort of experience, the benefit. Nobody at this table knows if the guy's a terrorist or not, myself included. But I can tell you this: when I was a federal prosecutor, if an FBI agent came to me, I was in charge of gangs and organized crime, said, "We got a big guy here for you." I said, "Oh, tell me." He goes, "Well, he's been in the country 14 years. He's never been arrested. Some source said 6 years ago, one guy said he was involved in a gang in New York. By the way, he lives in Maryland. I can't name anything bad that he's done. And also, every year he makes an appointment with ICE and goes in and self-reports." I'd say, does not sound like a terrorist to me. And even if he is, we got much bigger fish to fry.
But this is why he's doing it. Trump.
And guys, you hear that? 14 years, no crimes other than what, like a traffic ticket or something like that. And I put this all on Hispanic Trump supporters because they had the belief of, oh, they won't deport any of us, right? Close the door behind me mentality. They won't deport any of the good Hispanic immigrants here. These people are disgusting. And how does it make you feel, Hispanic Trump supporters, to support the people who demonize and shave out people's head and humiliate us and show us like we're caged animals and call us violent and that our people are poisoning the blood of this nation? You may think you aren't these people because you're an American now, but I can tell you that the people you support see you as one and the same. You'll never be a real American to the right wing, to the Republicans, to MAGA. You will just never be seen as a real American in their eyes. And if you think those same people wouldn't deport our ass, Hispanic American citizens out of this country if they could figure it out a way to, you are embarrassingly mistaken. And I said this before, you really think that Trump and the Republicans, if they could get away with deporting all people of color out of this country, you don't think they would do that? In a effing heartbeat. And again, this whole thing about being in a gang, they always do this, always try to connect a illegal immigrant was somehow violent or a gang. First off, being in a gang is not illegal. Just like you can be part of the Proud Little Boys. It's not illegal to just be part of the gang. You have to commit crimes in order to be prosecuted for anything. Are these people stupid? And again, this stuff works on Republicans. They're just so scared of everything. Just so easily scared about anything. They give you these little key words and Republicans run under their sheets.
Has a very clear map of the slippery slope. He started with people with clear criminal records. Now he's going to people who he questions the asylum. Then he's talking about American citizens. My question is, in the course of 3 months he's done this, what's going to happen next month and the next month?
Well, there's already been a lot of evidence that a lot of people are getting caught up in this. A Russian, legal immigrant, by the way, was coming back to the United States with some lab samples, had her visa revoked. This is what the New York Times reports, and is jailed by ICE. I mean, there are people who are literally just being caught up in this dragnet just for being immigrants.
And it's becoming normalized.
Can I ask the question of you two, since you're so passionate about this? If the United States brought Garcia back, would you support the administration arresting him and sending him to another country that would have him? Because I don't think there are many that would. Yes or no?
I would support if he had due process and that were the case, yes.
Well, he's already got a deportation order. So you're saying that when he comes back and Donald Trump sends him to Gaza, you're going to come on and say this was great?
Why would he go to Gaza?
I don't know. Can you tell me who's going to take him? You think France is going to take him? I don't know.
Look, we got to leave it there. But it is interesting.
I would support due process. Sure.
It's interesting to me that the Trump administration continues to want to deport people, not just to maybe their country of origin, but to a prison in another country without giving them the benefit of a process to determine whether they've actually even committed a crime other than coming into the country illegally.
I'm not against... Quickly, I'm not against due process. I don't think most Americans are. But if these people have violated the laws, President Obama deported
Okay.
a ton of people out
Yeah,
of this country.
but he didn't send them
And-
to a prison in El
I
Salvador, which
understand
is
that.
a
That's
very
fair
different
critique, Abby,
situation.
but we should deport people who are breaking our laws.
Okay, but they're being sent to a prison in El Salvador. That's a fact. So coming up next, President.
That's just Shermack was trying to blur the lines. Well, look at Obama deported people. Yeah, they called him the deporter in chief. He wasn't putting them into prison camps in El Salvador. You absolute idiot. And I want you to understand what Scott Jennings, this disgusting piece of garbage. Well, he says, well, would you be okay if we deport them to Gaza? Why the F would you, again, why would you be deporting Hispanic dudes, Spanish people to Gaza? And you have to understand, he said, I don't think many countries will take them. So then he mentions Gaza, insinuating. You understand, at least this is my theory of what he's insinuating, is that the Palestinian people are more open to what, violent or terrorists? They're more open. These are the kind of citizens they want. It's how disgusting he is. And no one called it out there. This is not uncommon. This is not like they always do this. They connect immigrants with either a gang or being more violent. Because if they told you the truth and say that the overwhelming majority are hardworking people, very traditional, family-oriented people, majority of them doing jobs that Americans don't want to do and wouldn't want to do it for the pay, and commit crimes at a lower rate than Americans, it would be much harder to sell that cruelty and fear. And I can prove that they do this. Give me the color of race and I can tell you, from black people, brown people, Arab, they do it all the time. Like with Middle Eastern people, they always try to make the connection to, what a surprise, terrorism. And black people with the recent use of DEI as a slur and using it as a way to, not even that slick, essentially trying to say that black people or people of color are not qualified or competent enough to do certain jobs. Because that's not possible. Because again, if you told them the truth and told them that black women are the most educated group in the country, look it up if you don't believe that. And how black people fought in all your wars, how they built this nation, and if it wasn't for the forced free slave labor, this country wouldn't be anywhere near where it is today. It would be much harder if you told them those truths. It would be much harder to run around removing pictures of people of color from the walls of the White House and from high-level positions in government and calling us DEI hires if they told you the truth. Again, why would you send this Spanish dude to the Middle East? What is he, to Somalia or Gaza? He mentioned Gaza like 3 times. This dude is disgusting. And I don't think he's alone in that belief. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this. And it's just a weird comment for Scott to say. I want to know if you guys have a different theory on that, or if I'm looking too far into it or whatever. Let me know what you think. Please like the video. It really helps get the message out there. Please leave a comment. I read just about all of them. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you in the next one.